What is the number of salat you have to pray per day? 5, 3, 2. What is salat al-fajr? What is Isha? What is tahajjud? What about al-wusta? What is the difference between salat and salawat? What does the ayah mean when it talks about duluk al-shams or tarafay al-nahar? Assalamu alaikum. I'm Moses, and today we're going to talk about these topics as part of the series Salats in the Quran. A quick warning, today's session is packed. There are many topics to cover. I will do 2 quick recaps and then we'll get straight into it. They say there are 5 ritual prayers if you were to ask a traditional imam or a traditional scholar. But if you ask some Quran-only Muslims, you might get different answers. Some might say there are 3 prayers, some might say there are 2. They say that Salat al-Fajr is the before dawn ritual prayer, and that Salat al-Isha is the evening ritual prayer. Salat al-Wusta, well, that has been understood differently by different strains of thought. Some call it Asr, for some it's Tahajjud, etc., etc. They also say that Tahajjud is a voluntary ritual prayer done late at night. Salawat means blessings. That the ayah we've got Duluk al-Shams, that ayah talks about Fajr, a ritual prayer, and either Maghrib or Isha. And then they also say that the ayah where we got the term Tarafay al-Nahar, that talks about at least 3 ritual prayers. They say all of that. Does the Quran say that? That is what we're going to be talking about and nothing else. We will not get out of the Quran. Quick reminder, this is the 9th video of the series Salat in the Quran. If you have not watched the previous videos, there are a lot of the terms that might not make sense to you straight away. I would really ask you to go and start from the beginning of the series if you have questions, queries, or even criticism. To find the series, go to the channel, look for the playlist, and tap/click the playlist called Salat in the Quran English. Let's start with the first proposition of 7 that we're going to cover today. Proposition number 1. As-Salah has no fixed timings or number per day requirement. Proposition number 2. As-Salah has objectives and requires careful execution. Proposition number 3. Tahajjud means to remain vigilant during the period of darkness and confusion. Keeping those propositions in mind, we're going to look at 2 ayat in particular, but we'll also cover the ayat before and after to see the context of them. Now this ayah here on the right hand side and the one that comes after, many take these 2 ayat to come up with quite a lot of assumptions. They say that this particular part of the ayah that talks about at least 2 prayers, if not more, and that this particular term here, Quran al-Fajr, that is talking about the Fajr ritual prayer being done early in the morning. And there are some also fanciful claims about that if there is to be a ritual Fajr prayer in the morning led, then there are angels who come and watch and listen, and that is how that particular prayer in the morning becomes a witness prayer. And then they also end up deriving from this ayah, the next ayah after this one, Tahajjud to mean a nightly ritual prayer. There is an extra prayer should you want to do so. I'm going to read out the gist of the ayat before these 2 ayat in English. And after that we will cover these 2 ayat in Arabic and English so we can see whether the propositions we offered give us a better understanding within the context of what the Quran is talking about. Let's start from number 70. Bani Adam has been favored, blessed over many, not all, by the way. People are associated with the leaders that they choose to follow. Warning for those who choose to remain blind. You, the follower of the Quran, can be tempted to become their pathway. The assurance comes from Allah. Punishment would have come to you, the reader, for giving in to temptation. They try to tempt you away from the ard. Sunnah of Allah, i.e. this phenomenon, does not change, has not changed, will not change. This is the context. Now let's read the verse in Arabic. أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر إن قرآن الفجر كان مشهودا. Restore, strengthen, fix, maintain the establishment of 2-way connections for the passage movement of the Shams, clarity, light, towards the place, occasion, where a layl, period of darkness, absence of nur, spreads, darkens, and the Quran, application of Allah's message at the time of this Fajr. Surely Allah's kalam, guidance, at the time of this Fajr, new dawn, has been a known, recorded, witnessed phenomenon. وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ عَسَىٰ أَنْ يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. And even while you're in the darkness, al-layl, remain vigilant, watchful with it, the Quran, an extra act for you, so that your Lord Nourisher puts you on the praised station. We'll continue on in English from a context perspective. Say, declare to remain fully in sidq and ask Him for help. Truth prevails and the batil vanishes. The Quran has shifa, cure for the peacemakers. This is the context of these two ayat. And frankly, I find no evidence for any number of prayers, ritual prayers that we have to pray, nor do I find any nightly ritual prayers from this particular ayah. I don't see that. I don't find that at all. Let's continue on with 11.114. And also, we find no number of salah, despite what many might tell us otherwise. Like we did before, here are the ayat that come before and a few ayat that come after this particular ayah as well, so we can see the proper context. I'll start the gist of the ayat before in English. They follow their history, forefathers, and will get what they deserve. Nabi Musa was given the Al-Kitab, but it was argued over. All will be dealt with. Carry out orders you are given. Don't incline towards the Zalimun. وَأَقِمُ الصَّلَاةَ طَرَفَيِ النَّهَارِ وَزُلَفًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ ذَلِكَ ذِكْرَى لِلذَّاكِرِينَ. And restore, strengthen, fix, maintain the establishment of two-way connections at the peripheries of the program, spreading daylight, brightness, nur of Allah's message, and what's approachable from the period, place of darkness, the al-layl. Surely good deeds, actions turn away, cancel out the bad deeds. That is a dhikra, reminder for those who seek to make Allah's system remembered prominent. Tharafayin nahar, peripheries of the program that spreads daylight, daylight of Allah's message, the brightness. Zulafan min al-layl, whatever is approachable in from the period, time, occasion, place of darkness of the al-layl. Innal hasanat, good deeds, good actions, things that you perform, they are what cancel out the bad deeds. Not just standing and doing a ritual prayer that achieves nothing, but actually carrying out activities, hasanat, that is what gets rid of the al-layl. Not going up and down 5 times a day along with others like an automaton. Continuing on with the context, Allah doesn't waste effort of good doers. Others before you did not stop the fasad, corruption on in the ard. Allah doesn't punish except the zalim. What is the purpose of salah? 2014 tells us. Now the context is when there's conversation, I say conversation with double quotation marks, between Allah and Nabi Musa. وَنَخْتَرْتُكَ فَاسْتَمِعْ لِمَا يُوحَى. Listen carefully to what's revealed. Now in this next ayah we know why the salah is to be established, maintained, set up, restored, fixed. إِنَّنِي أَنَا اللَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَاعْبُدْنِي وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. Surely it is I, Allah, no ilah except for me. So serve me, walk my path. فَاعْبُدْنِي, not worship me, but serve me, walk my path. And restore, strengthen, fix, maintain the establishment of positive two-way connections, regardless of the context, for the prominence, remembrance of my system. لِذِكْرِي, for the prominence, remembrance of my system. And then the Sarah is coming. So looking at these 3 ayats together and the propositions we offered before, I find no evidence for any particular number of ritual prayers to be carried out in a day. Instead, the purpose that we get is something completely different than what we might have been told otherwise. Proposition number 4. Salat al-Fajr is done at, for the beginning of a program to spread the nur, light of Allah's message. Proposition number 5. Salat al-Isha is done when a particular program of work to spread the nur, light of Allah's message is winding down at a hiatus. Now this ayah that I'm going to talk about, 2458, also has a very charged term, malakat aymanukum, which we traditionally have been told means captives, sexual slaves, and people who have become war booty. Quran talks nothing about that. For those who are interested in what these terms means, I have done a video in English where I looked at all of the ayat where this term appears. If you're interested, I would highly encourage you to go and watch that video. We're not going to focus on this term. We're going to talk about Al-Fajr and Al-Isha, but I want you to pay attention to this term if you haven't had a chance to consider that before. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu liyasta'dhinkum alladhina malakat aymanukum walladhina lam yablughu al-hulma minkum thalatha marrat min qabl salati al-fajr wa hina tad'una thiyabakum min adh-dhahira wa min ba'di salati al-isha thalathu awratin lakum laysa alaykum wa la alayhim junahun ba'dahun tawafuna alaykum ba'dukum ala ba'd kadhalika yubayyinu Allahu lakum al-ayat wallahu alim hakim. O you who have believed, spread peace, let those who are under your care promises authority, malakat aymanukum, those who are under your care promises authority, not sexual slaves. And these who have not yet come into their own, ask your permission, authority 3 times. Before this Salat al-Fajr, at the beginning of your program, involving positive connections between multiple entities. That is after duluk al-shams ila ghasaq al-layl, what we read before. Number 2, when you organize your preparations, meetings, duties for that program's progress. 3, and after when a particular program is at rest hiatus. These 3 are the periods of vulnerability for you. Outside of that, no issue on you or them if they were to interact with you repeatedly. That's how Allah clarifies His signs for you, and He is all-knower, wise judge. Proposition number 6, the second last for us for today. Salawat are tangible obligations, manifestations that result from as-salah, forming positive mutual connections. This particular term, salawat, appears 5 times in the Quran, and here are all of those occasions. Today, we're going to cover 2 of those occasions. First such occasion is chapter 23, and we'll look at the ayat numbered 1 to 11. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. So that is how the surah starts, talking about the mu'minun and how they succeed. Like before, I'm going to talk about the gist of the ayat in English, and I will go on to the ayat in Arabic and English afterwards. The peacekeepers, peace spreaders with belief have succeeded, will succeed, who are dutiful, reverent in their forms of duties, who do not get distracted, bring forth, empower society's positive growth, purity, guarding secrets, except from their partners or those under their care. Ma malakat aymanuhum, those under their care. Those who transgress these 2 allowances are not good people. Going back to the good people, they fulfill their promises. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَوَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. And these who watch maintain their tangible obligations for as-salah. Some of those tangible obligations are the ones that we just saw there, up in the front. But these are not the only tangible obligations that a mu'min is to perform. A mu'min does everything in his or her life to maintain their salawat with others, their obligations with others as part of their salah. These people are winners and will be in a splendid state. Proposition number 7. As-salat al-wusta is the best form of as-salah because it is moderate and unites. For us to consider this, I have offered verse 238 from the 2nd chapter, where this term appears. Now, first thing we have to remember, if we were to look at the context, is that there is no talk of any ritual prayer, even looking at the traditional understandings or translations of the fasir of these ayat. The context, if you look at it from a traditional perspective, is a man and a woman going through divorce. In between the ayat of divorce, so let's take the traditional understanding, there is a man who wants to go and divorce the women, his women. Instructions for that up here, instructions for that down there. But in between, somehow, the meaning that we are offered, the meaning that we are forced to understand and take away is that you must remember to do your ritual prayers, and specifically the middle prayer, and that is good for you. Question that is, I think, very fair to ask is, how did we find instructions for ritual prayers, and that too for a specific one, whether it's Asr or Tahajjud or whichever one we want to call? It does not fit. It does not fit. Even if one was to go and read the traditional understanding, traditional translations. A secondary point I'd like to make, but I won't dwell too much on it because it's not the focus for today. An-Nisa in the Quran are not women. I repeat, An-Nisa are not women. Ar-Rijal are not men. There's a series in Urdu where we have talked a great deal about the difference in how the Quran uses An-Nisa and Ar-Rijal versus how we understand them in today's Arabic, or in the fiqhi Arabic, or in the Arabic of the Ahadith and Sunnah and all of those people. If you understand Urdu or Hindi, I would encourage you to go and watch that video series. But anyway, we'll come back to what we're talking about today. 236. Reminder, Nisa, not women, but those with a delayed, postponed station of potential. That is the context of the ayah, where talaq, not divorce, talaq is being given to the Nisa. 237. Instructions for the talaq of Nisa. Nisa, men and women. Now we come to 238. حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. And watch, maintain over the tangible obligations, as-salawat, and the best form of as-salah, as-salat al-wusta, one that is moderate, without extremes, unites, and remain to Allah qaniteen. If we continue on, there are conditions of fear that are being talked about. And 240, the instructions for one's partners. Azwaj is again not wives, something I'll talk about in the Urdu series when I continue that. Azwaj is not wives. And here are a couple of quick references for anybody who might be interested to see why al-wusta is best understood as the best form of as-salah and not something that you do in the middle of 5 ritual prayers, for example. Let's summarize what we've talked about so far today. As-salah has no fixed timings or number per day requirement. Frankly, I did not find anything like that in the Quran. As-salah has objectives and requires careful execution. It's not just something you do randomly, nor is it something that you do in a ritual, orchestrated form. Tahajjud means to remain vigilant during the period of darkness and confusion. Salat al-Fajr is done at, for, the beginning of a program to spread the Noor, light of Allah's message. Salat al-Isha is done when a particular program of work to spread the Noor, light of Allah's message is winding down at a hiatus. Salawats are tangible obligations, manifestations that result from as-salah, forming positive mutual connections. As-salah al-wusta is the best form of as-salah because it is moderate and unites. And a reminder before I finish up, this is my fahm of the Quran. Whatever I have said that is useful, take it, use it, utilize it, engage it. Wherever I slipped, discard it. If you wish to critique, there's nothing better than for you to offer that to me with the Quran as your evidence and as your criterion. Now we are at the end, almost at the end of this series, Salat in the Quran. There are few videos, possibly 3 to come, and then this will be wrapped up. Just to give you an idea what is left. Maqam Ibrahim, Salat al-Jumu'ah, Salat al-Janaza, Salat al-Eid, Salat al-Istisqa. And then what I like to do is, as I said in the very beginning of this series, I will gather all of the propositions throughout all of the videos, put them together so we can look at the concept of as-salah and all the things that come around it in one sitting. And in the end, I would also like to talk a little bit about this physical ritual prayer that we see today, and how and why did that get confused or associated with the Quranic salah, which is a completely different thing. Last ayah for today. قُلْ إِنَّنِي هَدَانِي رَبِّي إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ دِينًا قِيَمًا مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا وَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Say, declare, my Lord has guided me towards a straight path, a right system, the millah, way of Ibrahim the upright, who was not one of those who added to Allah's deen. Say, declare, my form of two-way connections in my nusuk, in my life, in my death, are for Allah, the Lord of the realms, domains. Until the next time, Assalamu alaikum.